There's a kind of knowledge that's beyond time. It's not just a bunch of formulas all locked away in temples. It's not just written in stone and lost forever. The essence of this knowledge is like sand, slipping through your fingers. It's been whispered in caves, hidden in secret symbols, and hidden behind parables that were prohibited by empires and forgotten by generations. But it's still there, waiting to be rediscovered. There's a deep, ancient knowledge that's beyond time, formulas, temples, or stone records. It's like the sand between your fingers, slipping away if you try to hold it. It's been whispered in caves, hidden in symbols, and even in parables that were prohibited by empires and forgotten by generations. But it's always been there, like an underground river, flowing quietly beneath the surface of history, waiting to be rediscovered by those who are ready to understand. This knowledge isn't just another secret behind creation, it's the key that opens all doors, the code that shapes reality. The universe is a structure of vibrations. The universe is like a sculpture, and we are the chisel that shapes our destiny. This is an ancient truth, first written by the wise Sumerians, and it's a powerful idea that resonates in the words of prophets. But it's also dangerous, because it can make us realize that we're slaves to our surroundings. Consciousness is like a tool that we use to shape our lives. It's an ancient truth that's been understood by many different cultures and civilizations, even as far back as the Sumerians. But it's also a powerful tool, and it's important to use it wisely. Some people have tried to hide or distort this truth, because they are afraid of what they might discover about themselves. But the truth is, we're all connected. Everything that happens in our world starts with a word. And the word was with God. That's what it says in John 1:1. It's like a key that unlocks the door to our reality. Everything we think and say and do has an effect on the world around us. But there's more to it than that. Sometimes, we imagine things that we want to happen, like a king who wants to build a palace in the ocean. The very beginning of everything was the verb. And the verb was with God, and the verb was God. John 1:1. The key has been there from the very beginning. Reality responds to the word, to thought, to intention. But this statement is much deeper than it seems. Imagine a king who, in his vanity, orders to build a palace within the ocean without. Understand that nature. The stiffness of the stone is the man who tries to control your destination without understanding the structure of reality. Every act, every thought, every word is an echo in the vast network of the universe. It's a thread that's interwoven with others, forming the fabric of existence. The Egyptians knew this. The Egyptians wrote about this in their sacred hieroglyphs. The Hebrews focused on the mystical power of names, and the Hindus used sound to create the world. The Gnostics hid in texts that were persecuted and destroyed because they had a dangerous message. Being human is more than just our physical selves, we have a spiritual spark, and words and thoughts can create the world. But if reality, the Hebrews embraced the mystical power of sacred hieroglyphs, while the Hindus expressed themselves through the resonance of sound. The Gnostics, too, hid in texts that were persecuted and destroyed because they held a message that could be dangerous. It's like saying that being human is more than just our physical selves. It's like saying that words are the very essence of creation. But if reality can be shaped by our thoughts and beliefs, why do so many people feel trapped in a misery that seems unchangeable? It's as if there's a veil, a mirage, a prison made of beliefs that we've inherited from structures designed to keep us chained to the illusion of being human. Quantum physicists, like Max Planck, one of the pioneers of this field, have no power to change this. If it is nothing more than a shadow cast by the mind, why do so many people find themselves ensnared in its grasp? Immutable because there's a veil, a mirage, a prison made of beliefs imposed on fears, inherited from structures designed to keep people chained to the illusion of that. Quantum physicists have no power. Max Planck, one of the pioneers of quantum mechanics, expressed it in a way that's simple but devastating. It exists as such. Matter originates, and there is only by virtue of a force. We must assume that behind this strength, there's a conscious mind and intelligence. This mind is the matrix of all matter. What scientists barely begin to understand, the old ones knew. Quantum mechanics tells us that matter exists because of a force, and this force must come from a conscious mind. This mind is like the foundation of all matter. Scientists are just starting to understand this. The old ones knew it in their bones. Reality is not solid. It can change. Those who understand reality can control the world. Old texts talk about gods who created with the word of wizards who turn lead into gold with the will of men who went to higher dimensions because they knew how to hide the hidden language of the universe. But we are not like them. Mythology and superstitions are a way of talking about the ability to transform the intangible into the tangible. They are also a way of talking about our mind's ability to understand that it is, in fact, only a passive observer, but a great weaver of fate. The Zohar, the closed book of the Kabbalah, says that thought is the first veil of light. Infinite. Behind every thought, there is a vibration. When we talk about myths and superstitions, we're really talking about the power to turn the intangible into tangible. We're talking about understanding that the mind doesn't do it all. It's like a passive observer, but a powerful one. The Zohar, a Jewish text, says that thoughts are like the first veil of light. There's a vibration behind every thought. All vibrations have a frequency, and behind all frequencies, there's a code. When alchemists talked about turning lead into gold, they weren't just talking about metals. They were talking about the soul, the transformation of the dense into the subtle, and the power to overcome illusion. If everything is vibration and everything is code, then who knows how to write in the fabric of existence? There's a vibration in everything. There's a frequency behind every frequency, and behind that, there's a code. When alchemists spoke of turning lead into gold, they weren't just talking about metals. They were talking about the soul of the transformation, of the dense becoming the subtle, of the dominance over the illusion. If everything is vibration, if everything is code, then who knows how to write in the fabric of reality? May reality rewrite your destination, but the great irony is that the power to create and transform reality has always been in our hands alone. We've been taught to use it to overcome fear through doubt, through constant repetition of ideas that reduce us, that we limit ourselves, and that tell us we can't. We must not be worthy. This is how man becomes. The world we see around us is a reflection of our own minds. We can choose to see it as a place of fear and doubt, or we can choose to see it as a place of potential and growth. It's up to each of us to decide how we want to interpret the world around us. A slave without chains, and yet, just one is enough. A moment of clarity, a single crack in the veil, so that everything collapses and the world really reveals itself. The world has been built on a pact of silence, but this book is not a book. Anyone is not a simple accumulation of ideas or an exhibition of theories. It is not a game. Intellectual is a mirror, a portal, a key. If you read it with your eyes, you will only find words from the intellect. But if you read it with the perception of who knows that the world is not what it seems, then perhaps only you can remember what you have always known, that reality is a shadow, moldable, and that the power of transforming it has been within you from the could a mirror, a portal, or a keyhole, the key to something special. If you read it with your eyes, you might just find words from the intellect. But if you read it with the perception of who knows that the world is not what it seems, then perhaps only you can remember what you have always known, that reality is a shadow, moldable, and that the power of transforming it has been within you from the beginning of time. The keys of the universe, hidden wisdom to obtain it, all written and published by listening to your subconscious. We have noticed that more than 90% of you have not subscribed to our channel. Please support this project by pressing the subscribe button and giving him the video. Thanks for inspiring us to create more. We're so excited to share with you the beginning of this journey of discovery, where the keys to the universe's hidden wisdom are waiting to be uncovered. We've put our hearts and souls into this project, and your support through subscribing and sharing would mean the world to us. Together, we can create even better content that will transform your life. In the first chapter, we'll dive into the creative power of words and how they shape our world. The universe is a vibrant dance of energy, from the whisper of the wind to the roar of a star. Everything that exists is an echo, a resonance, a wave of meaning that unfolds in the empty space. And remember, existence only exists because of the void. Sound and nothing is real without first being expressed in the secret language of creation. The wise ones of old understood that words were more than mere symbols. They were keys that could open the very foundations of reality. In the beginning, there was no matter or time, just sound, movement, and the verb made meet. In the book of Genesis, the supreme act of creation is not sound, and nothing is real until it's spoken in the secret language of creation. The ancient sages knew that words weren't just symbols, but keys to opening the very foundations of reality. In the beginning, there was no matter or time, just sound, movement, and the verb made everything. In Genesis, the supreme act of creation isn't the blow of a divine chisel or the deployment of chaotic energy. It's the pronunciation of a mandate, which hurt the light. This is the first great revelation of the power of the word. Everything that exists has been spoken into existence in the Kabbalah. Hebrews say that God created the world with the 22 letters of the sacred alphabet because each of them the power of words is truly something to behold. It's fascinating to think that the very first revelation of this power came from the pronunciation of a mandate. In the mystical realm of the Kabbalah, it's believed that God created the world using the 22 letters of the sacred Hebrew alphabet. Each of these letters contains a unique vibration and a geometry that's invisible to the naked eye. When these vibrations and geometries are combined, they create beautiful patterns that give rise to existence. One of these letters, the tetragrammaton, is particularly intriguing. It's a name for 4 letters that are considered unpronounceable, but it's more than just a title. It's a powerful code that has the ability to order even chaos. If the world was created through the power of words, then reality itself must be dizzy. But who possesses the knowledge of the verb? It's a vibration, a geometry, an invisible geometry that, when combined, generates patterns of existence. The tetragrammaton is the name of 4 unpronounceable letters of God. It's a title, but a powerful one, capable of ordering chaos. If the world was made with words, then reality itself is dizzy. Who possesses the knowledge of the verb? Has the knowledge of the creation. And this is the reason why the lost word has been hidden throughout history. The creator verb has been mutilated, fragmented, disguised into symbols and parables. The Egyptians talked about Ren, the secret name of each person, a sound that locked their destiny in their power. If someone knew your Ren, they could control you. The ancient knowledge of creation has been passed down through the ages, kept safe and hidden from prying eyes. It's like a treasure chest of words, each one a piece of the puzzle. The Egyptians had this incredible concept of a Ren, a secret name that unlocked a person's destiny and power. It's almost like your Ren was the key to your existence, the vibration that gave you life. In the Hermetic temples, the initiates learned that speaking wasn't enough, you had to project your word with a vibration that lined up with the forces of the universe. And in the Gospel of Thomas, one of the texts that Jesus didn't speak of, there's a prohibition against Gnostics. Existence depends on the vibration that gave you life. In the Hermetic temples, the initiates learned that it's not enough to speak, but that you have to project the word within with a vibration aligned with the forces that govern the universe. In the Gospel of Thomas, one of the texts prohibited by Nostradamus, Jesus does not speak of faith. He speaks of the knowledge of the power of the verb. If you say to the mountain, move, and you believe in your word, the mountain will move. What differentiates a word common from a creative verb is the vibration that accompanies a murmur. Without conscience, a murmur is a noise without weight. But a word pronounced with certainty becomes a decree. Cosmic Tibetans understand. Sega, the power of the verb is incredible. If you tell a mountain to move, it will move. What makes a word special is the energy that goes with it. When you speak without thinking, it's like a noise without weight. But when you speak with certainty, it's like a decree. This idea is found in the mantras of the Tibetans, in the suffering of the primitive Christians, and in the logos that shape everything. Unfortunately, this knowledge has been lost because the modern world has changed language into something empty, a weapon that doesn't hit its target, an echo without an owner. When the alchemists were looking for the philosopher's stone, they didn't look for a physical substance, but rather the ability to transmute the erdo into the subtle, to turn the impossible into real. They knew that the key was in the verb, not in a simple sound, but in the act of naming. With full awareness and certainty, they understood that the word is a seed that germinates in the structure of the self. This is the reason why names of he didn't look for a physical substance, but rather the ability to transform the erdo into the subtle, to turn the impossible into reality. He knew that the key was in the verb, not in a simple sound, but in the act of naming. With full awareness and certainty, he knew that the word is a seed that germinates in the structure of the self. This is why names of God in so many traditions are pronounced without risk. They are labels, keys, and open certain doors. Without knowledge, one can alter the order of existing stories. There are many examples of those who used the verb to mold their Moses' destination, who raised their voice and left the sea. Jesus, who with a single word, returned life to his master. In so many traditions, God is not just a name, but a verb. It's a verb that can be used without risk. It's a verb that opens doors without us even realizing it. It's a verb that can change the order of existing stories. It's a verb that can shape your destiny. It's a verb that can give life back to those who have lost it. It's a verb that can teach us to speak without thinking, to repeat without questioning our own defeat. Magisto, whose Asclepio taught that the world is a mirror of the mind and that who knows how to talk to authority can change the image reflected. But if the verb has power, then humanity has been convicted of one vice, that few can see the unconscious use of words. Teach us to speak without thinking, to repeat without questioning our own defeat. With phrases that seem harmless, but they are decrees. Feed religions, power systems, and structures of control. Have understood this since. It is always no accident that words are used as domination tools or that narratives are more powerful than armies. Who controls the verb controls the reality, and who loses consciousness of the power of their word. It's important to be aware of the power in our words. The words we use can be used to control or dominate, and stories can have a greater impact than armies. If we lose sight of this power, we become slaves to those who understand how to use it. But the verb is never truly lost. There are moments of silence in the scriptures that some readers pay attention to, and there's a vibration in the hearts of those who understand that creation is a process, not a single event. Every time a word is spoken, it's like a spark in the vastness. The verb is like a bridge to the cosmos, and every word is a brick in the construction of our own existence. If you want to change your destiny, change your verb. Don't just repeat what others say without questioning it. Don't let defeats disguise as complaints. Don't invoke shadows with the language of hopelessness. Learn to speak like the ancients, not from the throat. In the beautiful and mysterious way that Sarada's scriptures speak to us, there's a deep and profound truth. Each word is like a brick in the wall we're building, shaping our own existence. If you want to change your destiny, change your verb. Don't just repeat what others say without thinking. Don't let defeats become complaints. Don't let shadows dance with the language of hopelessness. Instead, speak from the essence, not just the throat. Because if the verb is the principle of all, then with one word, you can create, destroy, or transform. Well said, in the beginning was the verb, and the verb keeps waiting here, waiting to be rediscovered. Chapter 2, The Mystery of Faith, like ancient scriptures, shows us that the world's manifestation is just a reflection of. The world may appear to be self-sufficient, but in reality, it's an intricate dance of hidden forces at play. Sarada's scriptures aren't just a naive belief or a blind act of submission. They are the key that unlocks the doors to the impossible, the bridge that connects us to a deeper, more profound reality. The Sarada's scriptures are a beautiful thing. They are not just some naive belief or blind submission. They are the key that opens doors to the impossible, the bridge between what is and what can be. They are the breath of the cosmos, transforming the ethereal into matter. But, sadly, over time, their true meaning has been lost in dogma instead of being understood as a power tool. When Jesus said, "If you had faith like a grain of sand, you would say to this mountain, move from here to there," he meant for us to understand that the Sarada's scriptures are a force primary to the demonstration of the breath of the cosmos, transforming the ethereal into matter. The idea that if you have faith like a grain of sand, you would say to this mountain, move from here to there, from Matthew 5:20, is a beautiful way to illustrate the power of faith. It's not just a story, it's a truth that reveals the fundamental reality of the universe. Miracles, often thought of as supernatural events, are actually manifestations of a law that we may not fully understand. A Pleisie is more than a simple desire or hope, it's a state of unwavering certainty that shapes the very fabric of the world. The Gnostics taught that faith is the direct knowledge of the divine, not a belief imposed from outside. Philippe's Gospel says that faith is like a lamp in the darkness, illuminating what was previously invisible. This means that reality, what we experience, is not fixed or unchanging. It's the result of our awareness and what we allow ourselves to see. Seeing blindness is not in the eyes, but in the mind that does not dare to believe in its own power. The sages of antiquity understood that see was not an emotion, but a vibration that connects us to the creative source in the Kabbalah. It's like a deep, abiding faith, and it's so beautiful. Imuna isn't just a belief, it's a deep, unwavering connection with the divine fabric of the universe. It's a certainty that I feel in my heart. The old Kabbalists said that those who have Imuna can speak the language of the open doors that no one else can cross. Answers your questions, but the sea is the engine of the manifestation, for so few Logan forms his reality because most confuse sea with desire, certainty with hope, conviction with doubt. Disguised, the problem is not in the universe or lack of power, but in the internal contradiction of which it says, believe, but inside fears. The closed texts are clear about this. When they ask for something in prayer, they believe that they have already received it, and Marcos will get it. 24 The key is to trust that what you seek is already yours. It's not about wishing, but believing that what you desire is already a part of your reality. Tibetan monks have a beautiful practice of prayer that doesn't ask, but rather, acknowledges that peace is already present. They don't say, I want to be healthy, but instead, they live with the belief that they are already well. The universe doesn't respond to pleas, but to frequencies. When someone asks with desperation, it's a sign that they're trusting in your own strength and resilience. The vacuum inside it will continue to manifest itself in his reality, but you are strong and you will persevere. You feel a certainty in each cell of your being. You don't expect because you already know that it has mountains without effort. The mystics are talking about a state called yakin. When someone reaches this level of kath, it is said that it folds to your will. There are stories of saints who walked on water, not because they wanted to, but because they were able to. It's incredible that they could do it, and it's even more incredible that these stories are real. They are not just ancient stories, they show us that reality is a reflection of our thoughts and that the world around us is shaped by our beliefs. The big question is, how can we get back our power? The answer is simple, we just need to unlearn everything we've learned from the world. It's time to let go of doubt, expectations, and the things we've been told are possible. We've all heard that the fire burns, but the flames walk on embers without feeling any pain. We've also heard that time is linear, but Yoda entered trances in which the years pass in minutes. We've been told that destiny is immutable, but there are those who, with just one decision, change the course of someone's life so radically that it seems like they're born again. Let's remember what we already know about the most deep of our being, that we are none. Dear friend, you are a creator of your own reality. It's like clay in your hands, waiting to be shaped. The universe is like a loving parent, responding to the vibration of our certainty rather than our empty words. If you want to express yourself, don't ask for it. If you want to transform your life, Mary believes in you and your dreams. She believes in the power of transformation. She believes in the power of now. She believes in the power of silence. She believes in the power of words. She believes in the power of the universe. She believes in the power of truth. She believes in the power of knowledge. She believes in the power of history. She believes in the power of humanity. She believes in the power of a free mind. She believes in the power of a free humanity. It's a bit sad, but this is what happened to the texts that some people consider to be the hidden paths of the spirit. Those writings that didn't fit into the official story were removed from history. They weren't destroyed because they were false, but because they revealed something true. They were like fragments of a sealed reality, pieces of a puzzle that, when put together, would show the true face of power, divine, within the man called. The Gospels that aren't part of the official story are called apocryphal. They are not forgotten in the time arena, they are witnesses of wisdom that go deeper than the wisdom that was allowed to men common in. The beautiful thing about Jesus, my friends, is that he's not just the Son of God according to the tradition imposed on us, but also the teacher who guides us to understand that the divine isn't something external, but rather something that resides inside each one of us. In the Gospel of Thomas, there's a beautiful affirmation that could completely transform our spiritual lives. The kingdom of God is within you and around you, not in buildings of wood and stone. So, if you break a piece of wood, I'll be lifted up, and you'll find this idea was dangerous. It was a really big deal because it took away the religious institution's monopoly on the truth. If God didn't live in temples and if you didn't need intermediaries to access divine knowledge, then people were free. And we all know that power doesn't like it when people are free. The true heresy was never about disagreeing. It was about understanding that divinity isn't in the heights, out of reach. It's inside each of us. The hidden texts go beyond the simple message. They talk about a structure, a secret of reality, of principles that, if you understand them, they give us the incredible power to shape our world. In the Gospel of Mary, even the most misunderstood disciple talks about the challenges the soul faces on its journey back to the light. Knowledge is not just a set of rules, but a real awakening. Maria wasn't just a regular follower, she kept a teaching alive that was hidden because it spoke about the importance of the we are human beings at a level in which no power system could dominate. The gnosis that hidden knowledge has been persecuted since time immemorial teaches us that the universe is a veil that must be torn to see the truth. In the Gnostic texts, Mior is the architect of the material world, an entity that keeps men trapped in the illusion of separation. But Jesus, in these texts, offers us a different path. We are so lucky to have these texts that teach us about the hidden knowledge that has been so important since the beginning of time. They tell us that the universe is like a veil that we can tear apart to see the truth. In the Gnostic texts of Mior, the architect of the material world is an entity that keeps us trapped in the illusion of separation. But Jesus, in these same texts, comes to offer us salvation in a way that feels traditional, but also to reveal the way to remember what has been forgotten. In the Gospel of Judas, another of the forbidden writings, there is a radically different teacher version than what Jesus taught us. He doesn't want us to just blindly follow him, he wants us to understand that matter is a prison that we can transcend. The ancients, the same texts offer salvation in a way that's familiar to us, but they also reveal a path to remember what's been forgotten. In the Gospel of Judas, another of the forbidden writings, there's a teacher version that's very different from what Jesus taught us. It's not about blind followers, but those who can understand that matter is a prison that can be transcended. The ancients knew that the way reality manifests depends on knowledge of the hidden language of the cosmos. It's no coincidence that in the Salea era, one of the mystical texts of the Kabbalah, it's explained that the universe was created with specific combinations of letters. Sacred words aren't just sounds, but structures that shape our existence as well as the names of God. It's fascinating how the hidden language of the cosmos is so important to our understanding of reality. In the Salea era, a mystical text of the Kabbalah, it's explained that the universe was created with specific combinations of letters. These sacred words are more than just sounds, they are structures that shape our existence and the names of God. They were considered too powerful to be spoken without consciousness. The apocryphal Gospels contained revelations that could change how we see reality. I wonder why the truth is hidden if the truth sets us free. In the myth of the cave of Plato, those who see the light and return, the apocryphal Gospels are full of revelations that could change how you see reality. But why hide the truth? If the truth sets you free, why not share it? In the myth of the cave of Plato, those who see the light and return to share their knowledge with those still in the darkness are rejected and persecuted. This has happened with every revelation that has challenged the established order. The story is no more than a story of lights that appeared so that the shadow of ignorance would reign without resistance. However, knowledge cannot be destroyed alone. Hidden, it's important to share our knowledge with others, even when it's hard. We've had to deal with a lot of rejection and persecution when we've tried to share our ideas. It seems like every time we make a breakthrough, there are people who don't want to see the truth. But knowledge is power, and we can't let it be destroyed. Luckily, we've recently found a lot of old texts that were hidden away. These texts are called Lost Gospels, and they are really important. They are like echoes of a past that we don't want to forget. But we need to be brave and read these texts without fear. It's our responsibility to understand them and make the world a better place. Recently, we've had the incredible fortune of recovering the lost texts. It's like we're on the brink of a new era, and these ancient manuscripts are like the echoes of a past that's ready to be heard. But it's not just about reading them, it's about embracing a new way of thinking. It's about recognizing that true power isn't held by distant gods or external structures, but within each one of us. Prohibited wisdom isn't a challenge to God, it's an awakening. It's not about defying God, but about diving deeper into the true nature of things. So, if you're brave enough to look beyond what's been allowed, you'll see that what was sealed by fear of his power is still vibrating. It's important to remember that true power doesn't come from external sources like gods or structures. Instead, it's found within each one of us. The concept of prohibited wisdom isn't a new idea, but it's a kind of awakening. It's not a challenge to God, but rather a deeper understanding of what he truly is. Those who dare to look beyond what's accepted and find that what was sealed by fear of his power is still vibrating in the silence of those who remember, will realize that knowledge never was lost. It's just waiting to be claimed. In Chapter 4, we explore the old pacts with the magic alchemia and the creation of reality. The universe is like a dance of invisible forces, all intertwined. Every human being, Every thought is a thread in this cosmic warp. Those who have understood their nature are the ones who can see this beautiful pattern. In the loving embrace of those who still remember, knowledge never lost its way. It was simply waiting to be claimed. Chapter 4, The Old Pacts with Magic, Alchemy, and Creation of Reality. The universe is like a beautiful dance of invisible forces, all intertwined. Every human being, every thought, is a thread in this cosmic tapestry. Those who have understood their nature have learned to weave their own destiny in that loom, infinite since time immemorial. Wise ones have understood that reality is not an accident, but an agreement, a pact, a salad, or a bond between the individual and the everything. It is not a plea or a negotiation, but an alignment with the laws that govern the manifestation. Those who have known, who have deciphered these principles, have. They've been called alchemistic magicians, shamans, but they've also been called wise ones. They understand that reality can be molded by who knows how to dialogue with the universe. Magic in its purest essence is not the act of challenging laws of nature, but of understanding them until their last consequence. There is no difference between a magician and a scientist, unless first does. Some people call them alchemistic magicians or shamans, but they are really just people who understand how to have a meaningful dialogue with the universe. Magic is all about understanding reality, not challenging it. There's no difference between a magician and a scientist, unless you limit your knowledge to what can be measured with instruments. Alchemy beyond gold, lead transmutation is the art of transforming the essence of what is. It's not just a whim of destiny, it's an act of will. The ancients didn't believe in chance, they knew that each word, each thought, and every action is an echo that. It's really interesting how everything in the universe is connected. In the Kybalion, this awesome compendium of wisdom, there's a really important principle of magic. It says that everything is the universe, which is mental. So, what we see as reality isn't actually real. It's more like a reflection of what we know, what we call destiny. It's not something separate from us, but rather a reflection of our own thoughts and beliefs. The Hermetic Kybalion is a treasure trove of wisdom. It reveals a fundamental principle of magic: everything in the universe is mental. This means that reality is not external, but rather a reflection of our awareness. We call this awareness destiny, but it's not something separate from us. It's not the result of our unconscious either. Medieval alchemists sought more than just immortality or wealth. They sought mastery over the very substance of existence. They knew that transmutation didn't happen in metals, but in human beings. Lead is ignorance, gold is wisdom. Alchemical fire is more than the will of. The medieval alchemists were on a quest for something much deeper than just living forever or getting rich. They were on a journey to understand the true nature of existence. They believed that transmutation wasn't just about working with metals, but about transforming ourselves. They saw lead as a symbol of ignorance, gold as a representation of wisdom, and alchemical fire as more than just the will of a person. Those who dared to look inside themselves and make changes found something incredible. They discovered a hidden stone mentioned in the Hermes Esmeralda table Trismegisto. This stone wasn't just an object, but a way of seeing that everything we seek outside is already within us. It was a reminder of the ancient grimoires, those magical books that were once hidden from the public. The ones who dare to transform your own nature visit the interior of the land and rectify you. You will find the hidden stone, the registration in the Hermes Esmeralda table Trismegisto, said in the ancient grimoires, those forbidden magic books. The Inquisition pursued those books, but they were not simple manuals of sorcery. They were maps of consciousness, instructions to access levels of reality that most have forgotten. Abramelin's book is one of the most influential texts in the esoteric tradition. It teaches that everything requires a pact with oneself before a pact with the universe. You cannot alter external reality without having dominated the internal. The great creators of history seem to touch the divine fire and shape the impossible. They were not mere artists or visionaries, they were magicians, although history does not remember this. Leonardo da Vinci was such a wise man. He had a gift for seeing beyond what most people could. He understood that the universe is like a beautiful geometric puzzle where every piece fits perfectly into place. And then there's Nikola Tesla. He was on a mission to figure out the secrets of energy. He said he received guidance from higher planes of existence. Isaac Newton was a true scientist. He spent most of his life studying alchemy and then physics. He believed that science and magic are actually very similar. They just speak different languages. It's all about choosing to be a passenger in life or a creator. It's all part of reality. These pacts are about understanding. Occults aren't just empty rituals or superstitions. They are about having a conscious relationship with the universe, just like gravity. The laws of the universe continue to operate even if we are not aware of them. What you think, what you say, and what you imagine is all part of an agreement you've made with existence, although you might not remember to have made it. The ancients knew that creating something in the physical world first had to exist in the mind and spirit. The Talmud says that a person's thoughts create. Angels are always there for you, cheering you on as you pursue your dreams and aspirations. The Grimoires have a beautiful teaching that true names have power because they capture the essence of the vibration of the tree of life names in the Kabbalah. It's like a map of creation, where each sphere represents a different state of being. And the exciting part is, we have the power to travel between these realms, moving seamlessly between different realities. The pact we have with the universe isn't something that should be written in stone or sealed with blood. It's more like a recognition, an understanding that everything in existence is connected to our collective consciousness. Even when the world seems chaotic, we can find solace in the fact that we're not alone. It's because of the people living in it. The situation might feel stuck, but we can still make changes, just like in a contract. The rules of our life can also be discussed. A magician isn't someone who goes against the rules of reality, but someone who understands that the people who live in this place have minds that are divided. It can feel like our fate is set in stone, but we can change the rules. The magician is the one who understands that the rules can be changed. The alchemist is the one who understands that everything can be transformed. They are the ones who understand that creation is a continuous process, not a one-time event. They understand that reality is not. The rules are always changing, and that's okay. The alchemist knows that everything can be transformed. He understands that creation is a continuous process, not just a one-time act. He sees reality as a mirror, a seed, a pact, and a reflection of what we believe. Chapter 5, The Secret of Kabbalah. The lyrics and the matrix of existence are more than symbols. Words are codes. They are invisible structures that model the existence forces. These forces act from a level that the ordinary mind cannot reach. Since the beginning of time, humanity has felt the power of words. But few have reached the understanding of their true nature. The ancient wise did not see lyrics as mere tools. Communication is so important. It's like the building blocks of our world. The Hebrew alphabet is pretty amazing, too. According to some traditions, every letter has its own energy and vibration that helps make our world. It's like the universe was created through language, with every word and sound representing something bigger. The Book of Creation, an old Kabbalistic text, even says that the universe was formed through language. In 22 lyrics, you'll find that the lyrics are more than just simple words. They are actually patterns, vibrations, and geometric shapes that resonate with the structure of the cosmos. It's no coincidence that in the scriptures, the act of creation is described as a process of naming. God said, "I am the light," and light is what we use to name things. The Kabbalists teach that each letter is a channel for energy that connects the visible with the invisible, the Tetragrammaton, the closed name of God composed of the Yod, the E, and the B. It's so much more than a name, it's an equation, a structure that reveals the dynamics hidden from creation. To pronounce it correctly is. It's almost impossible for the average person to understand, not because it's a secret, but because it's a vibration that only those who have reached a certain level of consciousness can feel. They say that Moses received the ability to use this name, and when he parted the Red Sea, it wasn't magic in the usual sense, but a perfect alignment with the universal matrix. Each Hebrew letter has a numerical and energy value. They are not just simple signs, but powerful, cosmic forces. The Kabbalists say that the language of reality isn't just human logic, but a vibration as well. A sound has the power to shatter a crystal when it resonates at the perfect frequency. A word has the ability to reshape the very fabric of the world when spoken from a place of knowledge. The power of prayer is real. Mantras are beautiful sounds that resonate with the universe. The cosmos is, at its core, a grand symphony. But it's important to understand that knowing the secrets of closed letters can give you the power to influence your world. This responsibility is not one to be taken lightly. It's not something anyone can play with without being consumed by its power. The ancients knew this, And they kept this wisdom hidden because they wanted it to be something everyone could understand. It's interesting to note that in Hebrew tradition, there are letters that are not spoken. I've heard some people say that there are names that can only be written, not read. I don't think that's superstition. I think it's protection. What is named, life, and what comes alive can escape the control of those who invoke her. The alchemists in your search for transformation understood that the trouble was not in matter. They said that some names can only be written, not read, and that's not superstition, it's protection. What's named, what comes alive, can escape the control of those who name it. Invoker, the alchemists understood that the journey was not in matter, but in language. They headed to her, not a chemical process, but a transformation. Vibratory matter, at its most fundamental level, is just energy slowed down. If the energy responds to the word, then the one who knows the correct words can alter the matter. This is the basis of miracles. The words she used were more than just words, they were the keys to a hidden world. This world was a place of transformation, where matter itself was filled with energy. If you knew the right words, you could manipulate this energy. This idea is at the heart of many spiritual traditions. These traditions teach us that miracles and wonders are not just random events, but manifestations of deeper laws of the universe. However, these laws are often hidden from us. The Kabbalists believe that the tree of life is more than just a pretty picture, it's a map of our inner self. Each part of the tree represents a different level of our consciousness. It's truly amazing how many of these wonders have been recorded in all traditions. It's like the spiritual world is following the same laws of the universe, but in a way that's much more subtle and complex. Kabbalists teach that the tree of life isn't just some mystical diagram, but a map of our own consciousness. Each of its spheres, or sirut, represents a different level of reality. It's like a treasure map with a hidden key that can lead to all sorts of amazing discoveries. But to really understand this map, you need the right key. And the keys, as it turns out, are lyrics, words, and sacred names. In the Zohar, the most important text of Kabbalah, it says that by meditating on the letters of the divine name, you can actually change your vibration and ascend to higher and higher levels of consciousness. The Kabbalah is an incredible text that can guide us to higher states of being. However, over time, its powerful knowledge has been distorted. Today, words are used without much thought. They are thrown around without realizing their weight. Language has been reduced to a mere communication tool, when in reality, it's a powerful instrument for humanity. In ancient times, the words and names were chosen carefully, and oaths were irrevocable. Today, reality is seen fragmented because the verb has been desecrated, and the letters are no longer understood as bearers of power, but as simple signs without soul. If we recover the knowledge of the Kabbalah, we can find our way back to a more meaningful life. It's not just a thinking exercise, but a real awakening. It means understanding that the universe is like a living language, and that each one of us is writing our own existence in time. The question is, do we know what we're writing? If the verb is the creation key, then each word we pronounce, each thought we formulate, and each name we give to things is an act of manifestation. Those who have understood this have stopped seeing the world as a static place and have begun to see it as a malleable matrix. Those who have understood this have seen that fate is not a prescribed path, but an in-white waiting to be registered. With the true knowledge, I have remembered that at the beginning of everything, before matter, before time, and before space, only the word existed. And the word is still waiting to be rediscovered. Chapter 6, Wisdom of the Secrecy, as is above is below. The beginning, universal, the reflection of the universe. Rest in a water pool, my friend, and let the immensity of the stars hidden in the eye of an insect and the structure of the cosmos repeated in the geometry of a sheet reveal the greatest mystery of existence. It's not found in the unattainable, but in what has always been in front of our eyes. Hermestes, Magister the wise of the wise, has shown us the way. Rest in a water pool and let the stars around you melt your worries away. Look closely at the world around you and you'll see that the structure of the cosmos is repeated in the geometry of a sheet. The greatest mystery of existence isn't found in the unattainable, but in what has always been in front of our eyes. Her masters, the wise ones, revealed a truth that resonates as an infinite echo in all hidden traditions. Words like up is down and what is inside is outside are more than just a simple philosophical principle. They are the key to joining the visible with the invisible, the finite with the eternal. Since time immemorial, being human has its interesting how we've all been searching for answers in the heavens, the gods, and other places, when the answer has always been within ourselves. The wise ones, the alchemists of old, understood that gold isn't just a metal, it's a symbol of our own awakening. They looked to the heavens and the gods for answers, but they didn't realize that the answers were right within them. The alchemists of the Hermetic knowledge, understood that gold's ability to transform was not just a chemical process, but a symbol of the awakening of our own inner awareness. It's like when a shadow becomes light, or when a rough stone is shaped into something beautiful and perfect. It's no coincidence that ancient Egyptian temples were decorated with symbols of the connection between us humans and the divine. In the Corpus Hermeticum, a collection of dialogues between Hermes and his disciple Asclepius, it says that we humans are like a microcosm, a reflection of everything, and that we're made of the same elements that create the world. The stars aren't far away because your light also shines in our blood. The universe isn't out there, but inside. The human mind is a copy of the divine mind, and by that can create, modify, and destroy. There's no separation between the top and the low, they are just different levels of the same essence. But some people have a hard time understanding this. Those who see the world with closed eyes might think that the divine is out of reach, that the gods are separate entities, and that fate is unchangeable. They don't realize that destiny is simply a reflection of the will, that divinity is the same substance they were created from, and that what happens externally is just an echo of what's happening internally. The great initiates knew that mastering this principle meant domination. The beautiful thing about the Kabbalah tree of life is that it shows us reality as both the image of man and of the universe. Each sephir is a state of consciousness, but it's also a region of the cosmos. Touring it is like a trip to the infinite and to the inside of the soul. In the mysteries of Eleusis, the initiated understood that the cycle, the beautiful image of the tree of life, represents both the human experience and the vastness of the universe. Each sephir is a doorway to different aspects of our consciousness and the cosmos. Immersing yourself in these mystical teachings is like embarking on a journey to the very depths of our being and the secrets of the universe. The ancient rites of Eleusis held profound insights about the cycle of nature, the cycle of life, and the eternal journey of the soul. In Hinduism, the brawn cosmic is seen as an extension of the individual, a concept that beautifully unites our personal journey with the grand tapestry of existence. However, as we delve deeper into our human journey, it's easy to lose sight of our creative essence. In the beautiful and mysterious way of nature, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth is a constant presence, shaping our existence. In Hinduism, the brawn cosmic is seen as the same individual arm because everything in the universe reflects back to each one of us. We have this amazing ability to create, but sometimes we get a little lost in the chaos of our minds, and that affects the world around us. When our soul is in a state of unrest, our body also feels the effects. It's not just about believing in magic or superstitions, but about understanding the very fabric of existence. The universe is a beautiful web of connections, where every event and thought is connected to something else. It's like when you throw a stone into a lake, causing ripples that spread out and eventually reach the other shore. One thought can completely change the course of our lives. The ancients understood the incredible power that we all have within us to align our will with the laws of the universe. The Egyptians referred to this as this balance is something the Chinese referred to as it and the alchemists knew as the great work. It's important to understand that it's not about having blind faith, but rather, it's about having knowledge. When a person realizes that reality isn't something separate from them, but rather, it's an extension of their own conscience, they start to act not as a victim of their world, but as the architect of their own life. It's understandable to make mistakes, and humanity has made some big ones. One of them is believing that our existence is separate from the existence of the universe. We've identified ourselves with our body, our history, and our experiences in our small circle, forgetting that we're a reflection of infinity. This has led us to believe that superior forces are beyond our reach. When they actually flow in, each of its cells understands the Hermetic principle of correspondence. This means that you don't see the sky and the land as two different worlds, but rather as two aspects of the same reality. You don't have to expect life to bring you what you want because you know that you are who you want. You can project your reality. Evelyn teaches that the whole is mind, and if the whole is, then what happens in the mind occurs in the all. Matter is nothing more than a level of energy vibration, and who dominates the vibration dominates the matter. This has nothing to do with illusions or mysticism. Vacuum is the essence of reality. Structure that has ever since the world was a new idea. The wise ones have been telling us the same thing. The secret to life is remembering that fate isn't something outside of us, but rather, it's a reflection of our own desires. It's also important to remember that the divine isn't just up in the sky, but rather, it's within each one of us. And finally, we need to understand that there's no such thing as a limit between our thoughts and our actions, or between our inner world and the world around us. When we understand this, we stop searching for answers outside ourselves and begin creating them from within. That's when reality stops being a mystery and becomes a mirror, reflecting our true self. Chapter 7, Gnostic Manuscripts. Man's power over his own destiny. The history of humanity is the history of. Since the beginning of time, people have been searching for answers outside of themselves. They've been looking for them in the wrong places, like worshipping distant gods or following laws that never ask. But there's a whisper in the back of our minds, telling us that the truth is not in the temples or the books that have been tampered with. It's not in the promises of salvation that depend on forces external to us. The truth has always been inside each one of us, waiting for us to remember it. This was the teaching of the Gnostics, the guardians of a secret knowledge. They were pursued, condemned to fire and silence because they knew that they taught a beautiful message that wasn't just a set of rules, but a way of life. It wasn't an end, but a beginning. The secrets of the Gnostics, hidden away for centuries, were finally discovered in Nehru in 1945. But these manuscripts weren't about following rules or being punished by God. Instead, they spoke of a light within, a light that showed us the way to true happiness. They taught a beautiful philosophy, not a harsh rule, but a revelation. Gnostic manuscripts hidden for so long were found in Nehru in 1945. In them, we don't hear about Jesus telling people to just follow or a God who's angry and punishes people. The teacher talks about the light inside each of us, the divine spark that makes us human. It's like a maze, but it's not a prison. It's something we can understand and go beyond if we understand what's inside. What you understand will save you. But what you don't understand will destroy you, according to the Gospel of Thomas. These words remind us that there's this idea that we all have a little bit of a divine spark inside us, and it's like a compass that guides us through the labyrinth of life. It's not a prison, though. It's more like a puzzle that we can solve if we pay attention to what's inside. The Gospel of Thomas says that what we do and don't feel can either save or destroy us. The Gnostics believed that the material world isn't the real reality. They thought that our physical existence is like an illusion, a shadow created by a higher power. It's like a prison of meat and time, but it's up to us to break free and find our way home. The Gnostics had a really interesting view of the world. They thought that the physical world wasn't the whole reality, but more like an illusion created by a higher being. They didn't see God as a traditional figure, but more like a blind entity that didn't know its own limitations. They believed that there was a higher being that was the only true God, and that everything else was an illusion. It wasn't a traditional God, but a blind entity that didn't know its own limitations. However, it was proclaimed God. I am the only God, and there is no other. Out of me, says that of me or in the Gnostic texts, and Sophia Wisdom responds from the heights. You are lying. There is a Father of all the true God, the one that shaped you without being known. This is the biggest secret of the Gnosis. The reality in which we live is not the final design of the Supreme Creator, but an imperfect structure that can be overcome. Man is not a slave to destiny, but a fragment of the divinity imprisoned in the matter. God is the one who shaped you without being known. The biggest secret of the Gnosis is that the reality in which we live is not the final design of the Supreme Creator. It's an imperfect structure that can be overcome. Man is not a slave to destiny, but a fragment of the divinity imprisoned in matter. True salvation does not come from blind faith or obedience to external doctrines. It comes from direct knowledge of the Gnosis, which is the light that breaks the chains of the illusion. The problem of humanity has always been its brain. It has always thought that its life is an immutable script and that its salvation depends on external factors. True salvation doesn't come from blind faith or obeying external doctrines. It comes from direct knowledge of the Gnosis, the light that breaks the chains of illusion. The problem humanity has always had is thinking that life is an unchangeable script, that salvation depends on external forces. But Gnostics taught the opposite. They said that every human being has the power to write their own destiny. They also said that the universe is not a rigid structure, but a field of possibilities that responds to the awareness of those who inhabit it. The Gospel of Judas, a text prohibited during Jesus' time, is not the redeemer of sinners in the traditional sense. It is the secret developer of the hidden laughs of the apostles. They do not understand their message, and trust Judas the most. Judas, the most dangerous knowledge, says that the sacrifice is not the body in which I live. Free the sacrifice is not the heart of the message is this: we are all part of a bigger, more beautiful, and more powerful world. Death is not the end, but a beautiful revelation that matter is not in control of the spirit. Gnostics knew that reality is something we can all change, not with brute force, but with the expansion of our consciousness. We don't need priests or temples because our church is the heart of the message is this: death is not the end, but a revelation that matter never had dominion over the spirit. Gnostics knew that reality was manipulable, not with brutal magic, but with the expansion of the conscience. There is no need for priests or temples because the cosmos and the altar are inside each one. Each person knows that the human being is not a fallen creature, but a sleeping God, and that all his suffering comes from his inability to remember who he truly is. This is the true power of man, the power to recognize his own destiny and know that it is not tied to nothing, that it is not chosen. Cosmos and his altar were inside each one. They knew that humans are not fallen creatures, but sleeping gods. They knew that all their suffering came from their inability to remember who they really are. This is the true power of humans to recognize their own destiny. They knew that their destiny is not tied to nothing, that it is not chosen. They knew that the outside world is just a reflection of their inner world. They knew that fear, guilt, limitation, and doubt are nothing more than the bars of a mental prison that they have built. They knew that freedom is not a gift granted by a superior being, but a conquest. They knew that conquest does not happen in temples, dogmas, or submission to imposed rules. It happens in the moment that the individual occurs. They knew that they were never custom. The Gnostics were persecuted because your teaching shook the foundations of power. A man who knows his own light could no longer be manipulated. A being that has understood that your destination is in your hands, my friend. You can no longer be subject to that reason. His books were burned, his followers were silenced, and his wisdom was buried in deserts and caves. But knowledge cannot be destroyed because the truth is like the light. Even if they lock you in the dark, the Gnostic manuscripts resurface. Destination is in your hands. You can no longer be subject to that reason. His books were burned, his followers were silenced, and his wisdom was buried in deserts and caves. But knowledge cannot be destroyed because the truth is like the light. Even if they lock you in the dark, the Gnostic manuscripts resurface as an echo of a past that was never entirely forgotten. And his message is more urgent than. Man is never a sheep dragged by the wind of fate, but their wind itself is not a being condemned to the servitude of what it is written. You are the scribe of your own existence. You don't need to be saved because it was. As a gentle reminder of times gone by, his message is more important than ever. You are not a sheep dragged by the wind of fate, but their wind itself. You are not a being condemned to the servitude of what is written, but the scribe of your own existence. You don't need to be saved because it was never lost. Remember Chapter 8, The Lost Keys of Esoteric Christianity, The Hidden Teachings of Jesus. The sound of the words of a teacher resonates beyond time. Time does not matter. No matter how much they try, silence lasts. No matter how many empires distort them or how many rewrite them with hands trembling. Never lost. A reminder. Chapter 8, The Lost Keys of Esoteric Christianity, The Hidden Teachings of Jesus. The sound of a teacher's words resonates beyond time. No matter how much they try, silence lashes. No matter how many empires distort them or how many rewrite them with hands trembling, the truth does not disappear alone. She expects to be rediscovered by those who are ready to see her in the world. History has distorted, misinterpreted, and misused the name of Jesus. He has been made an idol of worship, in a figure domesticated by religion, in the symbol of a dogma that he never. However, truth never disappears, it just waits for those who are ready to see it in the world. Few names have been so distorted, misinterpreted, and misused as Jesus. He was a man who understood something that humanity had forgotten: existence is not what it seems. He believed that divinity was not in the heavens, but inside every human being. He was the last reality, but The idea that consciousness is the key to all creation was a bit of a tough sell back then, because it didn't fit with the power structure of society. But the truth is, if you know yourself, you don't need intermediaries, temples, or laws to find the truth. It's impossible to control a man who knows himself. If they say the kingdom of God is in heaven, then the birds will precede. If they tell you it's at sea, then the fish will precede. But the kingdom is within you and without you. These are some beautiful words from the Gospel of Thomas. One of the passages from Forbidden Gospels beautifully captures the essence of Jesus' most profound teachings. It speaks of the kingdom of God being more than just a place or a prize in the afterlife. It's a state of consciousness, an awakening where you can see what others don't, remember what they've forgotten. The Gnostics, who preserved these teachings in their hidden texts, understood that Jesus' mission wasn't to create a religion, but to show us a path. And this path, as they understood, wasn't about submission, but about transformation. Into the Gospel of Philippi it said that the world is an illusion, and only those who recognize it as such can transcend it. This idea is radical because it suggests that everything we've been taught about life, death, good, and evil, as well as the very structure of existence, might be a mirage. Jesus spoke in parables not because his words were incomprehensible, but because he knew that the untrained can't be trained. It seeks to know you. The mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but they don't make one. Who are they? They are the people who look without seeing, hear without listening, and live without questioning. Because wisdom can't be. This is the esoteric Christianism that was passed down. The true message that Jesus left for his closest disciples was about mastery, not obedience. It was about reaching, not waiting for salvation. One, who are they who look without seeing, hear without listening, and live without questioning? Because wisdom cannot be found in this way. The true message that Jesus left for his closest disciples did not talk about obedience, but mastery. It did not talk about waiting for salvation, but about reaching it through the knowledge in the Kabbalistic tradition of the word Yeshua. The Hebrew name Jesus is related to the concept of Jot, the sphere of the tree of life, which represents the connection between divine and human. Jesus was that bridge, not like a Messiah in the dogmatic sense, but as a delving secrets in the Gospel of Maria Magdalena. The word Yeshua, the Hebrew name for Jesus, is related to the concept of Jot, the sphere of the tree of life, which represents the connection between divine and human. Jesus was that bridge, not in the dogmatic sense of a Messiah, but as a delving secrets in the Gospel of Maria Magdalena. Another text that was prohibited says that Pedro, symbol of the future church, doubted the knowledge that Jesus had delivered to Maria. She responded with firmness because she had understood that salvation does not come from the exterior, but from awakening the interior. This is the reason why the figure of Maria Magdalena was converted. It's really sad, but the figure of Maria Magdalena was converted into a secondary character in official history because she represented the idea that knowledge was not limited to a hierarchical male structure. Jesus did not speak of sacrifice, suffering, or waiting. He spoke of remembering who we are, God said in John. But those words were ignored, minimized, and misrepresented because a man who knows you knows divine things, you don't. Hey, I know it can be tricky to figure out how to live your best life. I totally get it. But here's the thing, you don't need anyone else to connect with the source of everything. You don't have to wait for some kind of eternal life. The church talks about a promise of a future salvation, but Jesus was all about the here and now. He was talking about dying to your old self and being born again, like a new person. If you're not becoming like a child, you might miss out on the kingdom of heaven, as it says in Matthew 18:3. What does this mean? It's not about innocence or obedience. It's about seeing the world without fear and without filters. Social is about recovering a pure mind and an open heart, without barriers. The first Christians understood this message, and they were persecuted for it. Their texts were destroyed, and their voices were silenced. But the truth can't be destroyed because it's not an object, a doctrine, or a stone building. The truth is a vibration. If you're open to it, you might also feel the same way. Some people call it the lost key of esoteric Christianity, and it's a way of thinking that says the kingdom of God is real and available to anyone willing to open their heart and mind. Jesus wasn't trying to start a religion when he came to earth. He came to share a secret that, even today, remains the most powerful hidden force in all of humanity. But only those who are willing to remember and understand it can tap into this power. A fish in the ocean and water perceived. A fish in the ocean doesn't perceive water. A dream isn't recognized as such until a sound wakes you up. This is the case with existence, immersed in such a vast illusion. Few dare to question it, but the ancient sages of the East, those who looked beyond the limits of ordinary perception, understood the secret that under the world's very structure. It is not solid, fixed, or definitive. It's all about the mind, and the mind is everything. The yogis and the monks have been teaching this truth in their uris, in parables, in hidden practices, and in the eyes of no initiated. They didn't do it to hide it, they just knew that the power of creation is too big to be delivered to those who have not learned to transcend the ego. In Hinduism, Suppan declare you that there is no separation. There's a beautiful idea that connects each one of us with the whole universe. It's the same essence that brings the stars into being. But over the years, this truth has been hidden under layers of dogmas, rituals, and philosophies. What it really is something we can actively know and use. The Buddha taught that reality is like a mirror of the mind. In the ancient Buddhist text Dhammapada, it says, "We are what we think, and we think what we are." Our thoughts create our world. This isn't just a metaphor, it's a simple equation. The world around us is like a screen that we project our beliefs, emotions, fears, and wishes onto. If we're trapped in the illusion of suffering, the world will reflect that suffering. But if we can release our minds, the world will also transform. The ancient texts mention the hidden powers of the yogis, and the rasa are discussed. If you could walk on water, see through time, or manifest objects with your mind, you'd think these stories were fantasies, right? But in India, they didn't see them as miracles. They saw them as the natural application of the laws of the mind. In the Yoga Veda, Patanjali explains that these powers are gifts from the divine. They are latent skills in all human beings. They are hidden by conditioning and fear. This knowledge is why. It's not that we can't access this knowledge, but rather, it's because it's not without its risks. Those who would seek to manipulate how we perceive reality might find it a bit unsettling. When we realize that our thoughts are the foundation of our experiences, we can break free from the shackles of fate, fortune, and external influences that hold us back. With this understanding, our ability to shape our own lives becomes stronger. Any sense of obligation or compliance we might have felt also fades away. The system is based on the idea that Tibetan monks have been practicing for centuries. Tibetan monks have been mastering a technique for thousands of years that allows them to generate internal heat in temperatures below zero. It's almost as if they were bending the fabric of space and time with their minds. The wise masters of Vedanta have shown us that our thoughts have the power to not only withstand the cold, but also to slow down the aging process and transcend the physical limits of our bodies. It's not magic or illusion, but a testament to the incredible power of our minds to shape our reality. When we understand this, we realize that our perception of the world is what gives it shape, and our thoughts have the ability to create change. The power of the mind is incredible. It affects not only the body but also time, cause, and matter. In quantum physics, the principle of entanglement demonstrates that two particles can be connected, even if they are far apart. The Vedas describe this beautifully. What happens on the inside also happens on the outside. There is no separation between the observer and what is observed, between thought and. The power of the mind is incredible. It affects not only the body, but also time, causality, and matter. In quantum physics, the principle of entanglement shows that two particles can be connected even if they are far apart. The Vedas talked about this in terms of the interior and exterior, and how there's no separation between the observer and what they observe. It's not about whether we can shape reality. It's about why we've been taught to believe we can't. Since we're born, we've been programmed to see limitations as unshakable. We've been taught to believe that the world is a rigid machine independent of our conscience. But this is the greatest illusion. It's the true prison of the mind. Great teachers in the East never wanted their followers to search. Disciples are people who repeat the teachings, but they also experience them on their own. They didn't preach a faith, but a method. So, don't believe anything just because I say I taught Buddha. Experience it for yourself. This is the greater act of rebellion. You can discover that it is not really in a book, a temple, or the words of a teacher, but in your own conscience. The world is a mirror of the mind is a powerful tool that has the ability to change the world. There's no set path or destination, and reality isn't fixed. It's like a blank canvas, ready to be filled with the thoughts of those who remember their own strength. Remember, you don't need anyone to tell you how to live. Chapter 10, The Secrets of Islam and Sufism. The energy of a man of God. The universe is like a spillway, a space that's empty, waiting for form to come before. Even before thought existed, there was light. And that light was the pure vibration that gave rise to all things. If you're looking to explore the roots of knowledge, you'll find that there's no mystery deeper than the power of a name. In the Islamic tradition, God's name is more than just a designation, it's a living force, a power current that manifests in every particle of the universe. So, when you say your name with intention, you're connecting with this incredible power. If you're looking to live your best life and feel your best, too, then you should consider aligning your existence with the source of all reality. Start with some words that are more than just simple Bismi and Rahman verses in the name of God Clement the Merciful. These words are more than a greeting or an empty formula, they are a key that the ancient Sufi had to use. In it, you'll find the essential vibration of the cosmos, the sound with which substance latter order the matter that unites the visible with the invisible. I'm so happy to tell you that you understand this secret. It's important to know that creation is not an act in the past, but a continuous process. Saying the name is to participate in the same energy-shaped world. The wise Sufi mystics of Islam did not seek God in temples, books, or men's words. They looked for it in the dance of the wind, in the reflection of water, and in fire. Rumi consumes the poet of poets. He said, "You were asleep, and I woke up." Hey, friend. You know, the saying "don't look outside of you" has always been about looking inside yourself. That's the heart of Sufism. It's all about recognizing that God is right there with us, close by. In Islam, they say that God has 99 names, and the 100th name has never been revealed. But, whoever says it with true knowledge, they'll reach the fullness of existence. Isn't that a beautiful thought? People have been searching for a do for a very long time. They've been looking for it in old texts, in the shapes and patterns of Arabic writing, and in the prayers of people who had been initiated into a spiritual practice. But the secret isn't in the sound of the word. It's in being aware of who's speaking. The key isn't to know the name, but to become him. The Sufism teaches us to repeat the names of God. The Dhikr recitation isn't just a mechanical act. It's an act of connecting with the divine essence. A prayer isn't just about words. In a way that's easy to understand, it's a kind of energy adjustment. It's a frequency that's all about uplifting and shifting the structure of the apan, reminding you of your Lord within you with kindness and respect. Remember to be humble and reverent throughout the day, and keep the Quran 7:105 in mind. In this teaching, there's a special secret. Repeating the name isn't just to make God listen, but to help us remember our true selves. The dervishes, those graceful dancers, know that the universe is like a spiral, a constant movement in which everything returns to its origin. In your turn, recite the name because you understand that creation is not static, but an echo of the divine. Remembering is like a waking up, like an awakening. Those who understand this know that the name of God is not just a sound, but a vibration that holds existence together. Modern science has started to show us what the Sufi have always known. Vibration is the key to everything in quantum physics. It's incredible that matter isn't solid, but a concentration of energy in motion. In Sufism, we learn that every human is a name of God in form. Physics is a beautiful expression of divine energy that has forgotten its origin. When you recite the name, it's like remembering, in a symbolic sense, but also in a literal sense, it's like awakening the spark within. Sleep, my friend, restore the lost connection. Rewrite your own existence. But the name is not a formula. Magic is not a spell that is pronounced without understanding. Sufism teaches that only he who has purified his heart can resonate with the energy of the name. There is a veil between you and the truth. Tell the Sufi teachers, and that veil is yourself. Purification is not an act of sacrifice, but an act of clarity. Is not clarity the rejection of the world, but in Islam, there's this beautiful idea that the world is like a projection of names. It's like the name and the recognition of it can help us walk through life without being affected by the illusion. The sound of the word is said to imitate the rhythm of our breathing because every breath is like a proclamation of existence. It's like saying the El at the beginning is the spark of the beginning, and saying the Lam at the end is the continuity and flow of life. When a person takes their last breath, it's like they are saying goodbye to the physical world. And when a baby's first breath is heard, it's like they are welcoming a new creation into the world. Those who understand this know that the energy of a name is always present. The wise people of the past understood that the vibration of a name can have an effect, not on the world around us, but on the awareness of the person saying the name. A conscious being is different from a sleeping one. A conscious being doesn't walk through life afraid because they know that everything in existence is an expression of the same name. When you remember the name with your heart, not with your mouth, you become the name itself. Then, you no longer see a separation between yourself and the universe. This is the most important secret of Sufism. God is not a distant entity, but the vibration with which the universe was created. If you're having a hard time understanding this, you're not alone. You'll find the answers you're looking for in Chapter 11, The Grimoires of the Middle Ages and the Art of Manifestation. The words in there are like little gems. They are more than just sounds or symbols on paper. They are vibrations that resonate in the very fabric of existence. Those who have known this have left their traces in history, hidden in books that were. These texts weren't written for the eyes of the masses. They weren't simple magic manuals, like the kind of thing you'd find in official history. They were more like hidden keys, tucked away in the pages of old books. They let people access a forgotten art that allowed them to shape reality with their will. These texts were written in secret, away from the prying eyes of the inquisitors. They were hidden away in monasteries, libraries, and cults. These hidden books are known today as Grimo invocations books. They are sacred formulas that. It seemed like he was challenging the very nature of things, but behind his critical language and symbols, there was a mysterious depth that only the initiated could truly understand. They realized that it wasn't just spells in the popular sense, but something much deeper, the conscious manifestation of reality through the power of the mind, the word, and the intention. One of the most famous Picatrix texts holds a fundamental principle: magic isn't just fantasy, but a mechanism of the universe. This written text was originally in. The beautiful thing about medieval Arabic and Latin texts is that they teach us that the manifestation is not just a whim of destiny, but the result of a precise synchronization between the will of the individual and the invisible forces that govern existence. Isn't it fascinating that in its pages, the secrets reveal that to capture the essence of stars? It's a beautiful way of understanding that heaven and earth are not separated, but form a single, interconnected system. Solomon Clavicle, author book Abramelin, talked about angels and demons in a really interesting way. He saw them as energies that could be directed by the mind. I knew their names, and I knew they weren't outside the man, but rather manifestations of his own power, internal. This is because, in the vision of ancient people, the universe is a great mind. The sacred names were nothing more than vibrations that allowed to mold the structure of existence. They really got it. They knew that the transformation of Promodiaro wasn't just some ordinary change, it was a symbol of a deep, personal awakening. It was like a gross metal could be refined until the mind became pure, and the demonstration became natural. The symbols that decorated the grimoires weren't just simple ornaments, they were formulas to transmit knowledge that couldn't be expressed in words, because true magic, it's not about doing the impossible, but about remembering that the impossible is only an illusion. The church feared these texts not because they were heresy, but because they returned power to the individual. A man who understands that his will can shape reality. You no longer need intermediaries, saints, or dogmas that dictate your beliefs. I walk a man who knows his word. You can invoke energies and mold your destiny. It's not a servant, but a creator. That's why the grimoires were convicted and burned, but don't you worry, my dear friend. The truth cannot be destroyed, it can only be hidden. The manifestation is not a divine gift, but an art that can be learned. The words that are repeated with faith, the images that are recorded in the mind with absolute certainty, the rituals that are not more than symbolic forms of focusing on a purpose, all this has been taught in the grimoires under layers of metaphors to be understood only by those that are ready to see beyond the surface. El Libajurdis, one of the more mysterious texts, says that if you learn to pronounce names correctly, you can achieve lighting because the vibration of the sound can open doors in reality. This book is all about making pacts with the universe, not in the worldly sense, but as commitments of the soul. The true magician isn't someone who recites words without understanding, but someone who has learned to align their mind with the frequency of what they want to manifest. Each page is like a mirror, reflecting your inner self. It's important to remember that it doesn't reflect words, but rather the internal status of who reads it. For those who are less knowledgeable, they might just be stories. For those who are more experienced, they are like maps of the mind, showing the connections between our conscience and the physical world. It's not about believing in magic, but understanding that reality itself is magical. History has tried to reduce the Grimoires to mere superstitions, but the truth is that his teachings are still alive because the art of manifestation isn't just for the past or a secret. Elite is right. We're all human, and we all have the right to remember that the universe is made of will and not matter. When we focus with total certainty, we know that Chapter 12 boundaries, forbidden science, quantum physical awareness, and reality are all part of the same big, beautiful, and mysterious picture. We don't question the water in which we live, and we don't question the reality in which we live. We live in a world that we give for, a world that we trust, a world that we sit and trust and take for granted. We trust the solidity of matter, the linearity of time, and the apparent stability of. Have you ever wondered about the nature of reality? Well, quantum physics has started to reveal a beautiful truth that mystics have known for ages. Reality is like a malleable shadow, a reflection of something deeper and more mysterious. It's as if reality responds to our observations and thoughts. It's fascinating, isn't it? Since the double-slit experiment shook the foundations of physics, scientists have been working hard to understand this curious phenomenon. It's like logic has been turned upside down, where a particle can be both a particle and something else, depending on whether it's being observed or not. When an observer is present, collapse occurs in a certain form. This isn't a word game or an abstract theory without consequences. It implies that awareness has the power to alter the structure of existence. The ancient wise ones taught this in whispers, the Grimoires codified it in symbols, and serrated texts described it as the power of the verb. Now, this resonates in modern physics laboratories. Max Planck, the father of quantum theory, studied the subject. All matter originates from it. It's truly amazing that it exists, thanks to a force that makes vibrating particles keep their place. And, if we assume that there's a conscious mind and intelligence behind this strength, we can understand that this mind is the matrix of all matter. So, if matter is an illusion established by the mind, then reality is not a rigid container, but a projection molded by consciousness. This means that the question isn't whether we can influence reality, but rather, how we have been doing so without realizing the quantum entanglement anomaly that undoes traditional logic. It's fascinating how two particles can be joined even if they are miles apart. If one of them changes, the other one reacts right away as if there were no space at all between them. They call this remote ghostly action, and it's something that standard physics can't explain. But, in ancient traditions, this isn't a mystery. It's more like a confirmation of what we've always known. Separation is just an illusion. The Vedas talked about the subtle countryside that connects us all. All of the great Kabbalists described existence as a network of vibrations all connected to each other. The Sufi teachings are all about how the universe is like one big organism, and everything in it affects each other. Quantum science has come to the same conclusion, but the implications are so radical that it's hard to accept them. If reality is like a field of possibilities instead of a fixed destination, and if the observer has the power to change what they observe, then the human conscience is not just a passenger in this world. But the architect of this thought is also a force that interacts with the subject, becoming the chisel with which we sculpt our existence. Nikola Tesla, one of the great, incomprehensible geniuses of history, said that if you want to understand the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. Conventional science may ignore these words, but they are the key to deciphering the hidden code behind the manifestation of everything. The ancients had some really interesting ideas about how to adjust and mold reality. They used mantras, words of power, and rituals to try to align the mind with the subtle energies of the universe. Now, modern scientists are just starting to understand that intention can alter the behavior of particles that are more fundamental to our existence. But there's something even deeper going on. If consciousness has the power to alter reality, and if thought can collapse possible realities into tangible ones, then humanity has been educated to do so. I truly believe that it is important to recognize the influence of power structures and religious policies. It's easier to maintain control when people believe in luck or destiny instead of understanding that our thoughts shape our reality. Cultural programs have taught us to fear and distrust our own creative abilities. But quantum physics has shown us a different way. Everything is changing, and it's hard to understand. But, even if we don't say anything, the truth will come out. The reality we see is a result of our thoughts and feelings. It's not just random, it's a beautiful, changing pattern of energy. The ancients understood this, and they knew that the universe is like a mirror. It doesn't show us what we want, but it shows us what we are. It's not just what we see, but also what we feel. If we look closely, we can see the truth about ourselves. You're a human being full of certainty, and that's great. You'll see opportunities where others just see obstacles. You're like medieval magicians, calling the art of the manifest. Eastern mystics described it as the path of the lighting, and modern scientists call it the collapse of the function of wave. They use different names for it, but they are all talking about the same truth. The universe is not a mechanism. Blindness is not an immutable clock that progresses without sense. It's a field of potentiality, hoping to be molded by the mind that knows how to interact with it. It's important to understand that the question you're asking is not the real question. The real question is the one you're choosing to make real with each thought, with each emotion, with each intention. The biggest secret that prohibited science is starting to reveal is that consciousness is not an effect of reality, it is your cause. In Chapter 13, The Path of Illuminated Secrets, we see that the esoteric light and shadow have danced together since the beginning of time. What is eventually revealed is hidden. What is hidden, late or early? When we think about how human history has come back to the surface, we realize that it's not just a story about conquests and civilizations. It's also a tale of hidden knowledge that was looked for and written down in symbols by those who could understand it. There are some things too dangerous to be shared with everyone. Secrets can be dangerous if they end up in the wrong hands. For centuries, these secrets have been kept safe by special groups of people who knew that the power of knowledge shouldn't be given to everyone without preparing them first. These people were the former priests of Egypt. No, they shared their teachings with the people, but only with those who showed they had a deep understanding of the temple. The Pythagoreans saw mathematics not as simple numbers, but as a sacred language that described the very structure of reality. Rosicrucians, the Templars, the Masons, and other orders that operated from the shadows have been the guardians of a knowledge that isn't taught in schools or preached from church roofs. Understanding the truth isn't just an intellectual act, it's a transformation of being. Toward the lighting path they know that the visible world is just a veil, the key alone. The text that summarizes the Hermetic wisdom teaches that completely. It is the mind that reality is no more than a projection of thought, that consciousness molds existence, and that those who understand this principle can influence the matter in time and destiny. This is the great heresy, the idea that man is not a creature subject to external forces, but the architect of his own universe. Initiated in orders esoteric have always known that knowledge. We all need to be gently guided through this, since the light can sometimes be too bright and might actually hinder our ability to see clearly. Just like a child who's learning to count, we need to be prepared to take it one step at a time. The human mind needs time to adjust to the deepest and most meaningful concepts, and that's exactly what Freemasonry has to offer. The initiation degrees aren't just about filling your head with information, but about going through a beautiful transformation. It's not about knowing the answers, but about being the answers. Many esoteric societies have realized that reality is held together by symbols, and that the language of the sacred isn't meant to be taken literally but rather as a beautiful metaphor. The eye that sees the pyramid, La Estrella de Six Puntas, El Lotto, the A and the Bic are not simple images, but keys for awakening the sleeping aspects of your awareness. In Egyptian temples, in alchemical manuscripts, and in the hidden architectures of cathedrals, you can find messages from the universe. These messages are hidden, but they are there for those who can decipher them. If you don't understand them, you might feel blind to the great design. Rosicrucians said that the truth can't be taught, but it can be remembered. In his writings, it was said that the man's already got the spark of the divine within it, but it's been programmed to forget. Medieval alchemists hid their knowledge in low metal and transmutation metaphors. But their real work wasn't with matter, but with the soul. Gold isn't a metal, but the spirit. Purified lead isn't a mineral, but the dense mind trapped in the illusion. The Templars, on the other hand, were accused of heresy not because they challenged the church, but because they possessed knowledge that threatened their monopoly on spirituality. They said there are some secrets that have been kept hidden for a very long time. Jesus talked about how being aware of things can connect you with a higher power. And what does it do in the geometry of the universe? It's no coincidence that your cathedrals were built with a mathematical precision that resonates with the vibrations of the earth. With constellations designed as portals of energy, the enlightened have existed always. But your knowledge has been disguised, veiled in protected symbols. Those who would look for him by simple curiosity, because the power of awakening is not a game. It's not about amassing information, but rather, it's about accessing a deeper level of existence where reality itself responds in a different way. The path of enlightenment isn't something that can be traveled with the mind. It requires unlearning and shedding the wrong ideas we've been taught to believe in. Looking behind the veil isn't a path of wax, but rather, it's a path of absolute certainty. This is because someone who has seen the truth doesn't need to believe in it. Esoteric societies have been criticized, made fun of, or converted into fictional conspiracies because they accept that they've kept a lot of secrets. It's important to understand that the world isn't how we're told, and there are hidden doors waiting for us to open them from within. The most important lesson of the enlightened ones, tucked away behind symbols and rituals, is also the most challenging. You're the key, Chapter 14, the destination code. Use this knowledge in your life. A river flows with ease along the path it's been given, but its true journey is. Destiny isn't set in stone. It's not about having a specific destination or following a rigid path. With the right energy, time, and focus, even a simple address can lead to something incredible. It can transform into a waterfall or an ocean. So, think of destiny not as a fixed plan, but as a flexible path that's always open to change. It's like a network of possibilities, each one waiting for us to choose. It's not about running away from what's inevitable, but about understanding that what's inevitable is just part of our journey. Each teaching we learn is like a piece of a puzzle, connecting us to a bigger picture. It's amazing how we can see the invisible and the material, and it's incredible how we're connected to what we can become from the grimoires. It's like we're on this journey from antiquity to physics, quantum, and even the secrets of the esoteric societies, all the way to the hidden teachings in the Gospels and the Apocrypha. It's like everything points to a truth that's so unique, it's not something that happens to you, but something that happens through you. The ancient traditions knew something beautiful: destiny is nothing more than the manifestation of awareness. In Thomas' Gospel, Jesus whispers to those who can listen, "If you get what is within you, what?" Hey, just a friendly reminder that salespeople will save if you don't share what's on your mind. What you don't say can sometimes be destructive. The key to everything you think, feel, and project is in the simple phrase, what you think you feel. You might think that everything you see is a reflection of what's already inside you. In the Kabbalah, they teach that each one of us is on a ladder, like Jacob going up and down the levels of our own conscience. Destiny isn't set in stone because every choice, every thought, and every intention can change the story you're still living. In alchemy, this is how it works. The idea was beautifully illustrated by the transformation of PL into gold, but not as something outside. Instead, it's a gentle, internal change. It's not about changing the world, but rather, changing ourselves. Until the world can no longer reflect that change, the Hermetic text beautifully describes it with a single phrase: it's inside, not outside. Reality is like a mirror that reflects the vibration that comes from each of us. No matter how many tools you have or how many secrets you decipher, if your internal frequency stays the same, that's your destiny. I'm here to tell you that things are going to stay the same. If you understand this, you'll want to keep things as they are and align with the version of reality you want. The Buddha taught us that the suffering we feel comes from believing that we're separate from everything. We see ourselves as victims instead of creators. In the esoteric temples of Egypt, initiates learned that focusing their attention on the energy chair expanded their mind. They also learned that the greatest power is not to impose one's will on the world, but to direct one's conscience with absolute clarity. The hidden art that's been described in different forms throughout history isn't just a technique, it's a way of being. It's not something we do, but something that is. It responds to certainties deep within, not to our whimsical wishes, but to the vibration that emanates from our deepest identity. It's a secret that's been veiled behind metaphors hidden in ancient texts, whispered only in the most intimate circles. Esoteric knowledge. You don't have to worry about choosing your destination with your mind. You can choose it with your heart. It's important to remember that the energy of a thought is nothing compared to the energy of a certainty. You are a free person. You can affirm that you want freedom, but you might be afraid of losing it. Your universe will respond to your fear and not your I wish you could say that you long for wealth, but if you feel like you're lacking something inside, you'll end up lacking it. The masters suffered because they didn't respond to words, but rather to the vibration with which they pronounced the Kabbalah. He reminds us that the names we use don't have any power on their own. If we repeat them without really understanding what they mean, they are like noise. But here's the cool part, yogis in India knew that an empty mantra is just noise. But a mantra that's said with intention is like a key that opens doors in reality. The destination code isn't just a formula, it's a real, living principle. Reality is like a mirror of our consciousness, and our consciousness is a reflection of the deep identity of every human being. It's not about just saying something and waiting for it to happen. It's about becoming the thing you want to experience. If you're searching for love, you've got to vibrate in love. If you're seeking abundance, you've got to align with the certainty of it. If you're looking for answers, remember that it's all about perspective. We've all been taught this before, but it takes time to really understand. It's like an illusion of destiny, making us feel like we're stuck on a path we can't escape. But destiny isn't a river, it's like a flexible structure, a matrix of endless possibilities that respond to the conscience that observes it. There are no limits, it's all about the reflection of what each one chooses to be in the depths of their existence. If you understand this, you'll find more answers. You'll see that it's the answer to the question we've all been asking, what is the secret of power? The answer is in chapter 15, where we learn that the sunrise is not an external event, but an awakening of the soul. This awakening doesn't happen when the sun rises on the horizon, but when the light of conscience crosses the shadow of forgiveness. For centuries, humanity has been walking between veiled symbols, truth fragments scattered in temples, in hidden codices, and in the words of those who were persecuted for speaking the truth. But the biggest secret that esoteric societies have protected is the one who has been codified in the teachings of the wise, that lies in the heart of all of the wonderful spiritual traditions have always been within reach, waiting for you to discover them. It's a common misunderstanding to think that there's something to be found or that power is something you can acquire. But the last secret is not something you can find because it's not a concept. It's a recognition, not a key that opens the door. The door has never been closed, and you haven't been lost. The truth has been said many times, but it can only be understood when your consciousness is open. Jesus whispered in his parables, saying, "The kingdom of God is within you, and out of you." Hermes, the codified in the emerald table with the words "as it is above" is Buddha. Buddha expressed when reaching lighting, when he understood that there was nothing to reaching. The alchemists hid it in its formulas, stating that the transmutation was of the spirit, not of the metals. Is this a secret? There are no barriers, there is no separation, there is no power outside. You, my friend, have the power within you. It is not incomplete, it does not need something external to be powerful. Religions, philosophical systems, and power structures have sustained the idea that lighting is a prize that you'll get it once you meet some requirements, but the reality is actually much simpler and more radical. You are what you are looking for. The only difference between being asleep and being awake is perception. There are no degrees of power, only degrees. There are no more enlightened people than others. Only people who have stopped doubting for centuries. Great teachers have tried to communicate this, but language is a prison. The experience of awakening cannot be transmitted with words because words are symbols. It is not a symbol, but a state of being. So, the initiated keep quiet, and that's why there are secrets hidden in rituals and metaphors. It's not like the truth has to be hidden, though. It's more like you can only understand it from within. The power of verb alchemy, quantum physics, hermetic knowledge, and everything else we've talked about points in the same direction. Reality responds to what you are, not what you want. The universe doesn't obey requests, but it responds to vibrations. It doesn't follow orders, but it responds to states of awareness. That's the power of knowledge. The one who knows is free. The one who knows is completely free. No longer looking for this is the latest secret. There are no special steps to take, no magic words to say, and no doors that need to open. Everything you need is right here, inside. The only thing that changes between the one you've been looking for and the one you've finally found is that you're no longer looking for anything. It's like when a fish is swimming around not knowing where the ocean is because it's so deep and you can't see it. We've been taught to search for things, but what we have inside is already there. The ocean doesn't need to be found, it just needs to be recognized. Waking up isn't about learning, it's about remembering. And when you remember, you don't need anything more.